The Mimic is trash. Okay, before you start going down to the comments, typing up a comment, disliking this video, yo, hear me out. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I made some reviews on the Mimic, and overall, I like this game, okay? I like this game. I give it like a 6, 7 out of 10, which is like decent, good category. I've played some of the nightmare modes. I like this game. Though, please. But the main point is, why do some people think that the Mimic is bad? This is something that I've heard some of my friends talk about because I'm very positive about the Mimic compared to them. Honestly, they will probably rate the Mimic at like a 4 or 5, which in my opinion is like incredibly unfair. I don't think it deserves a rating. I think it deserves a 6 or a 7. God, I forgot how, bro, I haven't played chapter 2 in so long. Like, I'm legit playing the horror game while I'm talking about this right now, so it's a bit awkward. I forgot how to play this chapter, bro. I'm sorry. First off, the reason why I think a lot of people may say that the Mimic is trash is because, number one, it may not feel as scary anymore. That's definitely like the first complaint that I have about the Mimic that other people I've heard of right now. God, these used to look so what the hell, these used to look so ugly. What? Nah, bro, I'm going on the table. Screw this guy. And that could be because of a number of reasons that aren't really because of the Mimic. I think one of the first reasons why a lot of people may not think that Mimic is scary anymore is because a lot of them simply just grew up. Like, the Mimic community, I think when it started off in like 2020, 2021, it was surprisingly young. Of course, with a Roblox community, anything is gonna be like that. Those kids, they're gonna be like 12 to 13, are probably gonna be like 15, 16 now. And of course, you know, like as you grow older and as you play more horror games like they did, their tolerance for horror games is probably way higher than it was when they were like little kids and stuff like that, when I guess the first Control chapters were releasing. This could be applied to any horror game in Roblox actually. Like, people just grow older and they don't really hear the same spark, like the same scariness for the Mimic anymore as they once do. Personally, for me, the Mimic stopped being scary like a very, very long time ago, and I realized that's not because the game is trash, but necessarily because I think I just grew older and I just got scared of less things. Like, I think like 10-year-old me, if I was playing this as like a 10-year-old, I think this will freak me out, like these monsters just eating like stuff like that. But nowadays, I don't really feel that same horror anymore. That's literally like, if I was younger and I was recording this video right now, I could not talk. I could not talk like what I'm doing right now, and literally I'm just here commentating, just talking, playing through the game by itself. That's like how little I guess I'm scared of this game now. It's just definitely due to age that some people may think that the Mimic hasn't really aged very well. And secondly, it may be because of also the aesthetic that comes with the Mimic as well, because I remember when the first Control chapters were releasing, and I remember being so creeped out by so much of it in the first chapter. I remember being creeped out by, I guess, that puzzle in like the first game, in like the first chapter. I remember walking down, like with my friends, I was walking down that corridor, that I guess that iconic path in the chapter where, you know, you got a jump scare like the middle of the bridge or whatever before going into the maze. I remember being so scared about that. Alright. And it was, I think that was because that was the first time that a lot of us experienced Roblox horror like that, you know what I mean? God, this dude, oh my god, this dude is so ugly, bro. I swear to god. I know it's on purpose, but god, this is just an eyesore. Just get me out of here. And I think it's definitely due to saturation, as, you know, we've gotten fond of the Mimic's aesthetic. Like, the Mimic has a very medieval Japanese style aesthetic, and as we have gotten, I guess, more and more chapters, it doesn't fit the same anymore, because like, who's gonna get scared of the Mimic 6 times, 6, 7 times in a row? There's only so many things that I guess the developers of the Mimic can do before it stops feeling like Mimic. A lot of the chapters, all of the horror games, the aesthetic, a lot of the horror of the Mimic, all of the original horror comes from the aesthetic of the Mimic itself. And as we have gotten more and more games, literally, I guess like the surprise factor just really faded away. I really don't think that's the fault of developers, to be honest, on this one. I really don't think so, because I think it's just saturation. Like, over time, as the Mimic grows, like the Mimic project grows, it's just not gonna, people are gonna start feeling this way. God, this bowl is legit so large, man. It just covers my entire screen. Why is this like this? Why is it like this? I don't remember being this obstructive. Another part as to why a lot of people think that the Mimic has definitely fallen off is definitely because of expectations. The Roblox horror game market, like the world in which Roblox horror games were in when the Mimic Control Chapter 1 first released, is completely different to players or something along those lines as role plays or whatever. It doesn't get like thousands, it doesn't get like tens of thousands of players, but it gets a very good amount of players in their games. There's a lot of people that want to play a lot of Roblox horror games. There's a very big demand for this. But when you take a look at the world in which Control Chapter 1 was created in, there was nothing like the Mimic at the time, and that was why I think it was so critically acclaimed. I think that was the reason why so many people loved it. It was definitely because of the environment that it was brought up in. Literally, like, I don't know, legit, like even before the Mimic, I cannot think of a semi-decent Roblox horror game. Like, the only one that I can think of is like Silent Dark and Lightbulb, making like 2016 by Zekas, like the creator of Lethal Company. I have a whole video on that as well. Was there any games before the Mimic that had like that was decent in horror? No, I don't think so. And if you can, tell me in the comments, bro, because I'm completely oblivious about this. But now the standards have risen. There's of course JUDY, which that project became discontinued and stuff like that. What's that more? Like, there's this one called Nightlight, Residence Massacre. Roblox horror is such a big genre compared to what it used to be. And I think the Mimic is still a cut above many of the other Roblox horror games out today. And I think it's not necessarily because of gameplay, I think it's because of aesthetic. The Mimic's aesthetic feels very, I guess, simple now. It feels very like, if the Mimic's aesthetic feels definitely played out now, like the Japanese horror aesthetic, it definitely feels played out now. But back when it was first released, it was completely super fresh. Nobody had thought about doing stuff like this before. Alright, my first chase scene, bro. Let's go. And definitely that's because of the Mimic, all the Mimic copies that we got. There was so many games that were blatantly ripping off the Mimic around 2022 that the whole aesthetic, the whole style of the Mimic just became super duper played out. And I think that's definitely, it played a part in that definitely played a part. And I think the shift to graphics definitely changed a lot of the Mimic's perception, I guess. As the bar has risen for the Mimic, I think they have really been pouring a lot of resources into the graphics. I remember around 2021, like the gap between Control 1 and Control Chapter 4, like whole Control series, I think that only took like about a year maybe? I don't know. That's literally, I felt like these 3 Jealousy chapters feel so super spaced out. Jealousy Chapter 1 came out, in my opinion, like a lifetime ago. I had COVID during Jealousy Chapter 1, and that was like a year and a half ago at this point. I was a completely different person. Whereas like the gap between Control Chapter 1 and Chapter 4, it didn't really feel as big, and definitely that's due to the break. And I think that's because of like the graphical advantages that Jealousy Chapter, the Jealousy books have over like the old Mimic ones. Look at this. This is amazing stuff, bro. This is some crazy stuff right here. Wait, hold on. I'm like at like 3 graphics, so it looks bad. Yeah, okay, I can't even see anymore. What the hell? There's been this heavy emphasis on graphics that the Mimic has been going for. And it also has to balance that with performance as well, because it's not a showcase game, it's a horror game. It needs to run at least semi-well. You know, it needs to run decently, but at the same time, it needs to balance out graphics as well. So I think that's where a lot of the development time has went to, is like perfecting the graphics, hiring voice actors and stuff like that. And I think that's why a lot of people also like started not liking the Mimic as much, because the gameplay technically hasn't changed too much compared to the Control chapters. They definitely have varied it up, like for example the cooking maze that's like a bit further into this chapter. I'm pretty sure there's a cooking section like in here somewhere. I think it's right after this aquarium part, right? I'm not too sure. A lot of the development time definitely went to like the better graphics, and I think some people do appreciate it. That I think way more people don't really appreciate the graphical advantages, the graphical improvements that the Mimic has given. Honestly, there's definitely this criticism that I found like from many of my friends. They call like the Mimic very style over substance. They always like try to put the style forwards. They try to put the graphical advantages forward instead of improving on the gameplay aspects. And definitely I can see that. I guess the Mimic feels way more stale because it's just simply a much older Roblox game compared to anything else out there. The Mimic is definitely the first game to have 7 full chapters and have so much hype and have so much public attention for like these past few years. When you think of Roblox horror, everybody thinks about the Mimic. The first thing that pops up into my mind is, oh, Mimic. They don't think about any other game. The Mimic has been around for too long. For me personally, I can see, yeah, the style over substance thing, yeah, I can kind of see that, to be honest. I can kind of see where they are coming from. I don't think, there's some people that definitely do appreciate the graphics that the Mimic is pushing. But the problem is like, not a lot of people appreciate that, especially the people that are on mobile and people with like very slow PCs. As a person who can run the Mimic like very well, like my PC is actually pretty decent, it's actually quite good. I enjoy this, but for a lot of people that are just playing on mobile, like casual players, they don't really appreciate all these fancy graphics at all because they don't really even have the device to run it perfectly. And they would much rather have a stable 60 FPS frame rate than to have some pretty graphics that condensed down into like their, I don't know, their iPhone 8 or something like that. It's not even gonna look good. Let's talk about competition as well, because I feel like the competition for the Mimic is definitely much higher than what it was back in the day. When you had to think about decent horror games back in, I guess, 2021, there wasn't much options. I mean, there was JUDY back in 2021, JUDY Chapter 1 release, and that was like a lot of fun. But was there anything else? Like, was there any like mainstream horror games at the time that friends could play other than the Mimic and JUDY? I legit can't think of any. This part, yeah, this Matt's part is actually so cool. Okay, okay. I got it. But now there's way more options at this point, and I think, especially with the weird streak, that part is definitely confirmed my suspicions. I feel like in terms of the gameplay department, the Mimic definitely falls behind compared to many other games. The style of, oh, there's a creepy Japanese monster over here, and like you get put into a maze, it feels super played out now. And definitely they've tried innovating and stuff. They got this cooking part, they got this whole maths part going on, they got like all this extra stuff. They definitely have been trying to shake things up, which in my opinion has been really good. And I think this definitely applies to the Jealousy chapters, where more Jealousy Chapter 2 and Jealousy Chapter 3 feel very different. They've definitely been improving on this aspect, but for some people it may not feel like as if it's enough, to be honest. Personally, I dig the Mimic formula. Like, I'm a sucker for Mimic anyway, so whatever stuff they put out is gonna be good in my book. I'm like a very, I guess I'm very biased against the Mimic, so I'm still gonna rate these games highly, even though it's gonna be the same bullshit with Japanese monsters chasing after you. And there's also definitely the convoluted lore aspects. One of my biggest complaints about Chapter 3, like the most recent chapter, is that we need my documents back, man. I feel like they should have given out more documents. A lot of people play Mimic now, not necessarily because of the gameplay or the scariness, but a lot of people play for like the lore aspects, and I feel like the development in between Jealousy Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, you know, it feels very little. The only thing that we have about Isamu's and Zenkai's relationship is like, oh, they were like brothers and stuff, they were close to each other, and the brother was like oblivious. We have no clue, like we need more information about what the brother is like. And this is definitely like a criticism I can get behind. I definitely feel disappointed because I feel like we should have gotten more collectibles, documents, stuff like that, extra stuff. Oh my god, put it in the bowl. No, I need to put it in the pot first, bro. I forgot how to play this. For most people, they would definitely skip over the documents. They definitely don't want to read dialogue or talk to NPCs or whatever. They don't want to do that. Like talking to NPCs as a normal person definitely feels weird. So I understand why they might not have put it, but I feel like for the diehard fans, the NPCs would have been so good. More documents and more stuff that expands more on Enzekai's and not Enzekai, bro. That's the Demon Lord. On like Isamu, like their brotherly relationship. Definitely, I would have loved some of that, but instead we got like one cutscene, which in my opinion is alright, I guess. But I feel like we should have gotten way more than that. You know what I mean? And we only have one chapter left. We have one chapter left. If I was like a casual Mimic player, like I would not really have cared much about like the brotherly relationship that they have at all. I know some friends that play the Mimic, that play all 3 chapters, that really have no clue and don't even give a shit about the relationship in the first place. So I feel like the lore has gotten way too convoluted for me to really take it too seriously, in my opinion. I'm getting nitpicky here. And so yeah, I think that's really all the complaints I have about the Mimic. One thing weird though is definitely putting Snowy Hell inside the middle of the chapter. I feel like it's definitely due to like developmental issues. I know they didn't really think about it. I know that they wanted Snowy Hell to come out first as like an independent chapter, and they really have worked like a lot into Snowy Hell, and like deadlines clash and stuff like that, so they put it inside the chapter. But it definitely feels convoluted because sometimes I'm like, I want to play Snowy Hell without going through like the first layer of the Mimic chapter 3. Like, I don't want to go replay that whole section again just to get to the Nightmare chapter, just to get to the Snowy Hell chapter. I just want to play the Snowy Hell chapter like all the previous other events. They should probably release like Snowy Hell as like a standalone. Keep it inside the chapter, I think that's fine, but they should definitely release it as like a standalone way to play it, instead of me having to go through like replaying the first part of the Mimic again just for me to get into Snowy Hell. Like, I don't want to do that, bro. I always love these chase scenes though. This is definitely like Jealousy chapter 2. Like, this is definitely my favorite part of like the Jealousy chapters. These chase scenes, in my opinion, in chapter 1 they got super dry, but chapter 3, I really love these chase scenes, man. They're always so fun. Alright, hustle, 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 move. I gotta go. How long does this last, by the way? This is the second one. I think this is gonna last way longer than the first. Usually the first chase scenes are like 2 seconds, and this one is at least 4 to 5 minutes. Alright, ladder. Give me the ladder. I'm halfway, right? I'm halfway, pretty sure. Give me. I'm trying to leave, bro. Come on. Go. Bro, I'm not trying to do none. Leave. Alright. I got this down. 100%. I got this down. Literally. I love this chapter so much, man. Bro, this chapter is so easy to me now. I want to play on Nightmare, but bro, I'm trying to commentate at the same time, so I can't really focus on the game 100%. So I decided to play some normal mode, you know what I mean? Playing this on Nightmare while commentating would definitely be a nightmare for me, to be honest. I'll be like silent the whole way through. It'd probably take me like half the game. It'd probably take me like 3 chapters to even explain the whole thing of what I'm trying to say. Alright, here's the end, right? Here's the end. Yeah, that dude's literally all the way far behind me. That's easy. Wait, I'm just gonna go finish this Mimic chapter on my own. I think I have nothing to say at this point. Thank you so much for watching. Here's a video that you can check out right here. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.
I done made plays for my nigga, I pray he makes something of it. The saddest part about success is that the hate come from it. I hit the black, got my first 9, I paid like 8 something for it. Yeah.